Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the co-owner and creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in today's video, I really want to talk about something different. So this is something that was asked to me in an interview question on a podcast recently, and they said, "What has been on your heart lately?" And I had a really abrupt answer for this because this is something that's been on my heart all week for sure. And it almost feels like inauthentic to not really speak up and share. So one thing I've noticed, and I'm not very active on social media. I have an amazing team of people who help me with a lot of the social media stuff because I'm sort of doing a lot of the YouTube things. I guess YouTube is still technically social media, but that do a lot of the Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and all that kind of stuff. But I was looking at different posts, and I was looking at different posts about different attachment styles first, and that's really where it started. And then I started looking at different posts about just some of the things happening in the world and how people are sort of reacting to 2020. And I just like saw so much hate, like so much anger, so much pain. And it's been a tough year for a lot of people. It's been a really, really hard year. And I see that and I hear that and I worry about that. I literally, like, part of why we're adding all these features to the school and part of why I've literally been making an everyday YouTube video is because I'm like, I'm going to put a daily YouTube video out to do whatever I can to kind of like support community, like to try to do my part in some way, even if it's small in the grand scheme of things, at least something as a human being to maybe provide extra support or help or whatever it is for all the people that are going through so much in the world right now. But something that was really personal in my healing journey was to learn to not try to solve pain with more pain. And that was a really hard thing for me to figure out because I was somebody traditionally who held a lot of grudges, who would like really resent, who would really like internalize things and then tell stories about them and kind of like blow them up in my mind and then feel so much upset and frustration and anger. And in part of my healing journey as a person, I actually realized this was going to be one of the most important things I figured out is to like learn to figure out how I'm managing some of the things that I'm feeling, some of the things that I'm going through. And I remember reading this quote in a book. It was like a one line, like just a random little line in a paragraph somewhere. It wasn't even like a quote that stood out, but it was such a beautiful, powerful line. And I share this sometimes. And the line was, "He who hates evil only creates another one." And whatever we're frustrated about as human beings right now, it will be completely valid. Our emotions are always valid. But how we behave when we feel emotional, there's a huge difference between it being healthy and unhealthy. So it's valid to feel the way you feel, but there's still a difference between how you feel and how you behave because of how you feel. So let's say, for example, you're angry at the injustice in your workplace for whatever reason. Maybe your coworker took your assignment and turned it in as their own. You should feel angry. Good. Feel your anger, feel your feelings. But that doesn't give you a green light to go around breaking things and, smashing all the pots and vases in your workplace, right? And it doesn't make you feel any better. It provides temporary relief followed by guilt or shame. And guilt and shame are actually much more painful, heavy, toxic emotions. And so, like, there is no denying that 2020 has been a really crazy year and that there's so many people who are divided and there's so many different political opinions at work. But I want to share the importance of trying to remember that we can have different opinions from people, really different opinions from people without hate. We can speak up. Like, I really believe in speaking up. Everybody should speak up and share their opinions and open up and put these things out there. But we can do that in a respectful manner to our fellow human beings. And whether it's like about anger you feel towards different attachment styles, whether it's about things that are going on in the world as a whole right now, everybody's fighting for the same underlying things. Like, if you look beyond the difference of opinions on the surface, what you'll see is underneath that, people are just fighting for like wanting peace or wanting justice, and they're on the same side, but they just have different programs because of the things that they've been exposed to, because of the things they've seen, been through, experienced, those sorts of things, whatever your attachment style is, whatever your subconscious set of programs are. So we fight for things for the exact same underlying reasons, but we go about it in a different way because of our programming. And when we don't see that, when we just judge like the surface tip of the iceberg part, we get into these like chaotic cycles. And then we give people our power when we start getting mad at them. We give them power over how we feel, we blame people, all these different things. And you know, whenever we have painful thoughts, painful judgments about other people, what actually happens, if you paid close attention in slow motion within you, is you have a painful thought followed by a painful emotion, which is made up of negative neurochemicals. In a, they're not negative all the time. For example, cortisol can be useful at times, but if we're like pervasively having cortisol responses because we are constantly angry about stuff and making more painful judgments and trying to solve pain with pain and just feeding the whole vicious cycle, then we have negative thoughts, negative feelings, negative neurochemicals sent throughout our whole physiology, and it actually affects our body and our physical health. And heightened levels of cortisol for long periods of time even affect our immune system, which we want to be healthy, we want to be vibrant and thriving as much as we can, especially when there's more challenge on our plate. And I always say to people too, like, if we get diagnosed, God forbid, like knock on wood, somebody gets diagnosed with a health issue, like they go to the doctor and somebody says, you have this disease or you have this illness or whatever it might be. It's at those times that like we can't afford to like, be more unhealthy. It's at those times that we have to dig deepest and we have to do everything we can to become the most healthy versions of ourselves immediately. We have to put all of our efforts and solutions and resources towards healing. And the same thing is happening right now. Like if we're in this crazy year, this crazy time, it's not the time to then, we don't have the bandwidth to go give all of that stuff to more pain and to more suffering and to just abandon ourselves more because we're so externally focused on people with different opinions and being angry at them and getting into arguments and things like that. And I'm not saying by any means that everybody does this. I'm just saying that as somebody who doesn't really use social media very much, and then actually took a deep dive and like looked at some things over the past few days, I was shocked to see how much more like anger and pain is on social media right now than I had seen over the past years. And it's at these times when things are tough that we have to dig even more deeply within ourselves as human beings and go, how do I get up and be for the solution? How do I break the cycle of all this stuff that's happening? How do I get peace within myself by not giving my energy to try to hate evil, and then I'm just causing more pain in the world as a byproduct and more pain to myself. And so pain doesn't, and pain will never solve pain. And I know I keep saying that, but I just really want to be clear about that. And I think it's a really wise question we can ask ourselves, to say, before I go to push the send button on something when I'm triggered, when I'm upset, as I'm about to do that, as I'm about to put that comment out there, do I want to be somebody who puts out into the world hate or healing? Because every single action we take on social media, I know we're behind a computer screen. I know we're, far away. We're not talking to people face to face. I know we become, more outspoken in a way when we're there because we're more protected. But that even if you feel like you're hiding behind something, that doesn't take away from that your actions are shaping you as a human being. Every action you take, every message you put out, everything you send to somebody, everything you say. And so do you want to be somebody who spreads hate, or do you want to be somebody who spreads healing? And the more actions you take on social media or in any other part of your life that are repeated, the more that becomes part of your character and part of who you are, because it becomes what your subconscious mind starts to identify with. And so we have to caretake ourselves there. We have to caretake who we shape ourselves to be through the repetitive actions that we choose. And so I think it's really important to try to resist that temptation. When we're angry, when we're upset, I know it's easier to go out and just express that into the external world. But I challenge you, if you find yourself doing this, and you might be somebody watching this video that's like, I don't do that at all. I'm super in charge. And that's amazing if that's true, so powerful to be in that space. But before we go do that, okay, try to, I sort of challenge you here, like try to go inwards and be like, what is this pain about for me? And what do I need to feel relief? And how can I get this need met in a healthier way? How can I still speak up, express my opinion, try to find justice, try to find peace, try to find connection, whatever it is that you're looking for, but in a way that isn't adding to the cycle of pain in the world, and in a way that isn't actually subconsciously adding to my own cycle of pain. And it's a really, really important undertaking that I think we all have to take a look at and be more mindful with how we're behaving in all these different areas of life. And the last thing I sort of want to leave you with, and something that was so helpful for me to really enter into this space and so powerful for me, is to practice the act of trying to look at people's sponsoring intentions behind their actions. It doesn't justify their actions, and we don't make other people's actions okay. We can set really strong boundaries, or we can speak up assertively and strongly, but respectfully, against other people whose actions we think are unhealthy or we don't agree with. But instead of personalizing people's actions and making them about us, there's another line I have for you that was in a book I read too. And it said, taking things personally is the ultimate expression of self-centeredness, because it's the assumption that the whole world revolves around us. And when other people are angry, when other people are going through stuff, even if they're projecting that onto us, most of the time it has nothing to do with us. It has to do with their own hurt. And there's that line of hurt people, right? And so I have found a very valuable tool when I was trying to integrate this into my programming is, if I ever felt like I was taking something personally, it's like, let me look for the sponsoring intentions behind that person's actions. Let me try to look at like what's going on inside of them that's causing them to act that way. And when I was seeing all these different things on social media, I think my brain's sort of conditioned to see through that lens now. And all I saw and like people's comments to each other, I was reading these like Twitter threads, and I was seeing all these different comments, and it wasn't on the YouTube channel. It was in the random place that I was just like reading about some of the things in the world. And I was like, wow, there's so much pain and there's so much fear and helplessness in all these people's posts, and people like saying this rude thing to somebody and somebody else saying that rude thing back, and that whole cycle. And I was just like, wow, there's so much fear and helplessness right now. And of course, like, look at the state of the world. And so people are entitled to that. But when you look at it through that lens, imagine that's coming at you. When you can see things that way, it takes you out of making it about you first and foremost, since we don't personalize it and then cause more pain around it. But you also get this opportunity to like really see what's happening in that person and kind of have some compassion for them. And then again, just like I said, their feelings don't justify their actions. Same with us. It doesn't mean because we have compassion, we then have to like go make that person our responsibility to fix or heal. Everybody's going through their own journey right now at their own pace and in their own way. But instead of taking it on and then feeling like we have to fight back in a way that only creates more of the problem that we're trying to solve in the first place, by acting the way that we're acting, then we can take a different approach, and we can end these vicious cycles of things going on in the world right now, at least to a certain degree. And maybe we'll never end, these sorts of things, but maybe we can each as an individual do our part to make a difference. And collectively, as all people who decide to take this upon themselves and try to do that work and show up in that way, as many people and more people show up that way, it makes an impact. It makes a dent in some of the stuff that's going on, at least to a certain degree. And most importantly, as an individual, you'll feel better on a regular basis by not buying in. It's like that Einstein quote too. It's like trying to solve a problem at the same level of thinking that created it. It's a waste of time to try to do that. And so you'll sort of get to take a different approach, and that will lead to a different trajectory and ultimately a different outcome. So I know this is my like little preachy video over here, But this was on my heart and I thought I would share it. And let me know anything else. If you want to talk about this, if you want me to make videos about some of this stuff, whatever it is, you let me know in the comments below. And I'm here to support you guys and our community in whatever way that looks like. So thank you for listening. Thanks for being here. And I will see you in the next video.